Andy, let's talk injuries. We had George Fant, Quincy Williams, and then take us inside the locker room. We heard from Robert Saleh and quite a few of the players. What's the latest on the injuries, and what did we hear after the game from Robert Saleh and the players in the locker room?
Yeah, it was a tough scene watching Quincy Williams deal with obviously what appeared to be a serious ankle injury. Um, he was hurt making a tackle on a third down where I don't, to be honest with you, I cannot remember who he tackled, but he made a stop right there on third down, just short of the first down marker. Immediately went grabbing his left lower leg. Immediately he was near the Bengals bench. Immediately the Bengals medical staff was out there looking at him. Jets players were motioning for their staff. The cart came out quickly, and his left leg was put in an air cast. Robert Saleh didn't have an update after, other than to say that he's being evaluated. Somewhat good news. I did see Quincy after the game with a walking boot on his left leg. So I don't know if he went to the hospital or not, but the fact that he was still there and was in a walking boot at least is somewhat encouraging. But he's going to be out a while, and that's a blow for the linebackers. With George Fant, it's been pretty clear since the end of training camp that his knee issue with the left knee is continues to be an issue after he suffered an injury late last year. And obviously it caught up with him today. I'm pretty sure he left the game after he gave up a sack in which Joe Flacco fumbled the ball early in the third quarter, which ended up being a key sequence in the game. And then, yeah, the general vibe in the locker room was obviously not good. Quinton Williams talked about the incident with Aaron Wycott and said that basically it wasn't as big of a deal as it looked like on TV, and that he was just like challenging the coaching staff to let the defensive line do their thing with a 4-man pass rush. And obviously the message got across because the Jets went to mostly a 4-man pass rush for the rest of the game and played better. But he's basically saying, like, we're good enough to handle this, like, let us do it. And he said that he loves White Cotton. He's one of the best defensive line coaches he's ever had, and that it was misconstrued. But I think Robert Saleh, also said that he loved Quinnen's competitiveness and that he was excited about it, but also that, it would have been better if they weren't in a shouting match on the sideline. So it tells you that there was at least something there. And there's obviously some frustration. I asked Quinnen, later in his interview session, how frustrating was it that you guys can get off the field on third down and you made so many mistakes that kind of cost you? And he basically gave me a 3-word answer, which was, it's just execution, and then stared at me. And that's all he said, which to me means he was probably pretty frustrated with some of the play calling in that first quarter, if he didn't want to get into it. So that was an alarming sign. We also talked to Corey Davis, and he didn't want to get into the details of what led up to that crucial penalty with Eli Apple, but he said that, making that mistake, it obviously hurt, and it's something that they can't have happen. John Franklin Myers said that he didn't think it was a penalty on Joe Burrow, and that Burrow even said to him after the play that he didn't think it was a penalty. But once again, he put the refs in the position to make a call. He didn't need to shove him. The shove came clearly after the ball was out. And Franklin Myers said, I need to be better, and I will be better. That's great, but it doesn't matter once the penalty has happened, because 3 plays later, the Bengals scored a touchdown. And then DJ Reed had some very interesting comments. He was clearly frustrated and clearly eager to talk about it. He said that he doesn't understand the mistakes, he doesn't understand the miscommunications, and that he thinks the Jets defense needs to have a meeting, not a players-only meeting, but one with the coaches, where they can air it all out and just figure out what's going wrong. He says they're not communicating well enough. They need to over-communicate He said even if it's getting to the point where it's annoying at practice, where they're shouting stuff out, they need to do it because it's just not working right now. And that's part of the reason why this is a red flag. You have veterans making the mistakes. No one has a good answer, not the coach. I mean, Robert Saleh said, like, it's frustrating that they keep making these mistakes. But no one had a good answer for why they're making the mistakes. So, DJ Reed said that they need to clean it up. They need to all sit down, air it out. Coaches, players, and himself included, all of them are responsible for what's happened, and that it can't stand anymore. So, that was basically the vibe in the locker room. It's just hard to explain. Again, at 1-2, no one would have. I think Jets fans actually, most of them would have been happy at 1-2 when you look at kind of where this team is at, and they're obviously developing. But when you see the crippling mistakes, and not just from the young guys, and that's kind of something that Robert Saleh has preached, like, we're a young team, we're going to make mistakes. But you see veterans making key mistakes, and we're talking about all 3 games here at this point. They made mistakes that by all rights should have put them out of that Cleveland game, and give them credit for seizing the opportunity and doing everything right in those final 2 minutes. But that doesn't erase what happened that put them in a terrible position before. And that's what they did again today. They put themselves in a terrible position, and they even had better chances to get back in the game than they had in Cleveland earlier in the game. And they squandered those too. And I just think all of it is a red flag for the Jets, and extremely disappointing. Everyone would understand if they're in a tight game late and they can't figure it out. But when they're making these self-sabotaging mistakes early, and then making self-sabotaging mistakes that don't allow them to get back in the game when they have the opportunity late, there's no excuse for that.